now, please make it official, hit that sub button, leave a like, and destroy the notification bell. And if you haven't seen this week's episode, tread lightly because there will be major spoilers ahead. Alright, so some newer developments have begun to unravel, starting with what has already taken place since last season, namely beginning with the episode called The Sign from Season 6. We've seen the Chromicons invade the lighthouse before, but just not in this timeline. Now, whether or not this invasion has proven to be effective seems to be the main point of contention between the police sergeant Chromicon and S.H.I.E.L.D. Since losing the valuable asset of Wilfred Malik unexpectedly, as well as the Insight satellite, it seemed as if he was losing faith in the Predictor. Ironically, just 3 episodes ago, he was just defending her. This brings me to a point at which I like to say, as your humble host here at Content Meta, we will admit this point is one of many things we sorta got wrong. We thought Wilfred Malik's death would affect the team, mainly Deacon Yo-Yo. As it turns out, it hasn't, or at least not yet. Moving on though, Sybil explains to the police sergeant regarding the timeline that if one branch dies, another bears fruit. It would appear that one of their plans was to infiltrate the S.H.I.E.L.D. lighthouse, which seems to have been effective. They managed to swap a few agents here and there, enacted a few orders on their own, and almost got Rick Stoner before being saved by May and Coulson. In this entry, finally, we get to see May clear the air with Phil, so to speak. Just before Phil descended into the Chronicon's lair, May was able to express her thoughts about losing Phil in the past, and how it is for her now, with him being there as an LMD to some degree, seeing as how her emotions are currently gone, and a touch of others gives her a rush of them. Now, after descending into the Chronicon's lair, he enters into a virtual space where he meets Sybil. And to think up to this point, every interaction we've seen with the Chromicons was not exactly face to face. She seems willing to answer any question he asks, perhaps confident that her plans will come to fruition. Now, to be honest, when Phil was going back and forth about sacrifice, it didn't quite dawn on me that he was going to make one himself. That is, until I thought about the bag he had with him before he entered into the virtual space. That, and plus the whole thing about him saying that dying is a superpower and all, kind of helped to kick in my common sense, so to speak. Yes, we've seen Phil die again, and again, and again. The only question is, when or how will he return to finish out the season in style? And what seemed like an opportunistic snatch and grab for the transfer of power ended up being a unique interplay of characters ripe with S.H.I.E.L.D. history, their strengths and their weaknesses, as well as a grim tale of fate and perseverance. Daisy and Daniel got to experience each other at a low point and see firsthand their personal resolve. Daniel even shares one of the most coveted nuggets in Marvel canon, the story of how he became permanently injured. Now, echoing the sacrifice theme from Coulson, however, in the original timeline, a slightly younger version of Daniel was sacrificed to Hive, who Daniel actually refers to, revealing that he and his henchmen were never a part of. Now, Daniel does reveal later on that nothing really spoke to him about his life's purpose until he saw what Daisy could do. Yet, still knowing enough about Whitehall's work on Inhumans, even back in the 70s, to want to own their abilities. He craved a power for which he would suffer the consequences of, or being incapable of possessing due to his genetics. In an intriguing twist, Sousa, not being superpowered at all, and in fact being disabled, managed to take advantage of one of the henchmen, leading to their escape, with a little help from Daisy, of course. Just when it seemed like Sousa thought himself to be out of place, found his place on the team, and who knows if sparks will fly later on down the road. Since Jemma has been dealing with the Chromicons all the way back in the last episode of Season 4, she has learned a thing or two about them, namely their technology to enter a host's mind and access their memory. And now it's become even more clear that there was a bit more to those contingency plans which Enoch helped to lay out since the finale of Season 6. Case in point, the implant in her head designed to suppress the memory of where Fitz is, as well as other important information. Up to this point, only Enoch and Jemma knew about the implant. That is, until Deke walked in on them and assumed that Enoch was somehow harming her. I was personally wondering if and when they would get a chance to somehow fix what was obviously wrong with her, since the events of the last episode had become much more pressing. Now, the only question at this point is, where in the world or off-world is Fitz hiding? Even before the last installment, Mac has always had some tough decisions to make regarding the outcome of missions. As the director of a S.H.I.E.L.D. team falling helplessly through time, has made matters even the more sensitive and delicate. So, upon seeing his parents being held captive to alter any plans they may have had about destroying the compromised S.H.I.E.L.D. base, he naturally opted out to save his parents. At first, it seemed like an unexpected blessing, no matter how untimely, to be able to introduce Yo-Yo to his parents. He even seemed a bit overwhelmed at times, from the prospect of actually being in the presence of two obviously revered people. But this joy would turn into tragedy. Thanks to May, he unfortunately finds out that his parents are gone, already disposed of for their appearances to confuse the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, shortly after their time jump, he leaves the carrier for some much-needed time alone. However, he and Deke become stranded after an unusually brief layover. Now, these events leave some huge questions to be answered. How will Mac ever get over the loss of his parents? Will this be a replay of Thor and his grief? Or how will Mac and Deke ever catch up with the team again? And the biggest question, is Fitz disguised as Sybil the Predictor? Well, stay tuned in the content meta for the answer to these questions, as well as other key plot points of the show. And until then, see you then.